And I need to say thanks to our sponsors of the Insurance Smith and Therapeutic Alliance. And ISA is a charitable organization attached to the Therapeutic Alliance, which is a regional therapy organization. So there's a couple of big questions that's important that we ask, and that is really which social network should we be on? Which ones are going to be the most effective for our campaign? How can we get an edge in terms of how we are doing this? I think that's really important. So which social networks, and then the other question, which we're not going to talk about today too much, is what should I be sharing? We'll talk about it a little bit. So what networks are you currently using and thinking about using, experimenting with?
I use Facebook, Twitter, and I just signed up for a Pinterest account just because we talked about it. And,
Right.
And YouTube.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. Okay, so those are new accounts to you. Also, you just opened to
Facebook
YouTube.
and Twitter I've been using.
You've been using it, right? But YouTube's also a new account to you,
Yes.
and all of its wonderful ads come with it, right? So, yeah. So Diane, you're using a whole bunch of stuff,
Yes, some of it I'm familiar with, some I am not.
right?
And that I'm familiar a lot with Facebook, I guess, and Twitter and LinkedIn. But what I don't like with LinkedIn is the fact that, you have to go premium to really do anything with that.
And that's a good observation. But there is a way to use LinkedIn without paying for premium. So we'll talk about that today.
Okay.
Okay. How about you, Kelly?
At Empower House, we use Facebook and Twitter
Okay.
primarily.
And you all should be thinking seriously about Pinterest, as we talked about last week, just because there's a lot of women that are in your core donor audience. So, hello, how are you?
Hi. Yeah, how are you?
Just a couple of things. We're going through some slides. We're live on the internet. There's no camera today, just a microphone. And we're going to kind of go through some things related to social. And so one of the big shifts that people are having a tough time with is just the multi-site nature of social now. And as we talk to nonprofits and businesses all over the country, the rule is most people are really comfortable in one network. And they have adopted that. Some people even call it their own personal operating system. So most people are very comfortable in one network, and they have a really hard time shifting to other networks. But it's no longer an option. And you can see from this chart, I showed this chart at the Main Street training as well. 52% of people are using more than one network. So if you look at this, and this is not, it doesn't measure other ones like Tumblr. It doesn't measure other niche networks that people are using. It does not bring in YouTube. But you can see that if someone uses Twitter, there's a likelihood they're also using these other networks. 58% Instagram, 42% Pinterest, 40% LinkedIn, 91% Facebook, right? So Facebook is still the predominant feature of the market. And then you can see as well, Instagram, a lot of people, and the Facebook numbers are high all the way across the board. The number of Pinterest users who use these, you can see as well. So, there are pairings here, but the point of it is that we just have to be willing to wrestle with more than one network if we're going to be effective. Here's a couple of facts that you should just be aware of. And if you heard this at the Main Street thing, I apologize. You're hearing a couple slides twice. Right. So here's a big thing. What we used to hear about social media is that everyone said that it was just for young people. Well, that's not the case anymore. In fact, the older people are now scaring all the younger people off of Facebook. It's no longer cool to be on Facebook if you're young, although a lot of young people are. But, more than half of people age 62 or older use Facebook. And my 82-year-old mother-in-law just goes crazy on Facebook every day on her tablet and spends an hour or two a day catching up with friends and writing notes to people. So it's very, very significant change. So, and for most of us in nonprofit work, an older audience is a core part of our constituency. And they often are the ones who write checks, and they write bigger checks. That's been our traditional mainstay. So, any of you having any good success in terms of connecting on Facebook with an older audience currently?
How would we know that?
How would you know that? That's a great question. So you would know that by looking at your analytics. And so in Lamppost, you would look at your analytics for Facebook. It would tell you a lot about who's visiting. I think also, you're going to get a lot of that out of Google Analytics, because the people, and hopefully you're connecting the dots between your Facebook account and your webpage, and you're trying to move people from Facebook, which you don't own, to your webpage, which you do own. And so if you look in your Google Analytics, how many of you have Google Analytics that you can get access to through your website?
We had some trouble with that. We'll probably ask you about.
Okay. So Google Analytics is free, and it's installed in the technical part of this is installed in the header of the website. And if you're in WordPress, we use a plugin for that. You just plug it in. We use WordPress for everything because we love it. And other websites may have to be entered into the actual code of the website. But the bottom line is you get a lot of rich analytics out of it. It'll tell you way more than you would ever want to know about what people are doing on your website. So part of the discussion today is, if you're going to do all the social, you have to connect the dots between the different social mediums, and you have to get people back to your website. Because your website's the part of this that you own. It's the part that you can control. It's the part where you can collect email addresses most easily. It's the part where you can show anything you want. So that's really significant. And that's how you would know if you're being successful. So if you're doing video or you're doing Animoto or pictures, you always want to find a way to get them back on your website. Now, if you don't control, the pages of the website, then that makes this more challenging. If you're part of a really large organization and it's hard to get specific pages on the web, that's more challenging, but it's really important. So, but the bottom line is you can look at those analytics both in Lamppost, and then we can import Google Analytics into Lamppost. So you can get reports on there. You can look at exactly who's there, how old they are, where they live, what device they're using, how long they stay on your site, how many pages they look at, which page they look at first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. All of those things.
Do you actually know who the people are?
Not from Google Analytics, you don't.
It seems
You
so
know,
invasive,
you
that's
know
why.
where they came from to get to you.
Yeah.
You know the referring site that they used to get
Okay.
to you. And if
Do
you,
you know zip code?
you will know, you can look at a geographic map, and it will show you a lot. If there's enough numbers, it'll populate state, it'll populate part of the state. So you can really see, a lot of detail. You wouldn't get the zip code, I don't think, but you're going to get, you'll get a lot of specifics. You'll get pretty narrow.
You asked about, I think we started on Facebook and then went to Google Analytics. So what about your Facebook connections matters? So say, you've got followers, likes, lots of, what part of that matters?
Matters to what?
To deciding that for example, your question was, how many older people do you have
Right.
connected to Facebook? I mean, is there a question like, so what, that maybe they're somehow connected, but they don't actually look at anything, or they don't, you want the engaged users, is that correct?
Well, what you want is, you want people that are going to do the things you want them to do, right? Hey, Megan, how are you?
Hi, Megan.
Come on in, have a seat. There's coffee over there if you want coffee or tea or hot chocolate or something. This is live online, but there's no camera, just audio. So you have to speak up a little bit so people can hear you. So we're talking about which networks to use, why to use them, how to connect the dots between the things you want them to do, which is volunteer, share, and give, right? So your messages, so the reason this stat about older users is so important on Facebook is because they have been the traditional mainstay of most charities for donations, right? As more of them go online, you want to make sure that you don't lose them, right, to some other charity that's doing a better job online. And we all know that donors can be lost. And Facebook and other social media creates a great storytelling medium. So my 82-year-old mother-in-law, she gets approached by mail, believe me, every day in large amounts for charity, but she also now is being solicited online in Facebook. So the issue is, and so your question is, why do we care? How do we care?
Yeah, what part of their engagement matters? So when you're doing your analytics, so
Right.
so you can get your demographics, but is there a way to know the demographics and how they're behaving that really tells you their engagement with you matters?
Right. So, and I think it comes back to understanding your audience. So as you look at your donor audience, you probably already know what their age groupings are, and different messages appeal to them based on different things. So if you're putting out messages, you're not going to find a lot of messages that appeal to everybody. They typically appeal to different groups. So as you look at your historical donor messages, the ones you've especially used by mail, those same messages have to be translated into Facebook so that they work on Facebook. And so one of the ways you know that this is working is if you see those older donors begin to click and give online. So, the Facebook may be a reinforcement for your mail work. And for some donors, it may be a replacement, depending on what's happening with them personally, and depending how digital they've become. So I would say it's it's companion, and we'll see that some donors actually will shift from one to the other. It's far cheaper for us to have digital donors than it is for us to have paper donors. We know that the average gift of a digital donor is larger. We know that they give more over a longer period of time, and we know that it costs us a lot less to work with them. So there's a lot of reasons why it's good for us to transition them to digital donors, but you're only going to know that based upon their actions. And are your social postings getting your senior donors onto your webpage? And when they're there, what are they looking at? And how does that compare with what you're putting out in print? Because they should be connected, right? So I think there's a lot to think about in this area, and there's no magic bullet, but you certainly don't want to lose them. They are online, and they're looking at video a lot. They're looking at Facebook a lot. So if you want to keep a hold of those older donors and grow that base, they also will share. They will share these things and so there could be good, acquisition. I think the other issue is with the older donor, how do they want to be asked? Do they, many of them still really want that piece of mail. But you can certainly keep them engaged on Facebook, and you can ask them when they get to your website, how do you want to get stuff from us? Do you want our e-newsletter, which is almost free for us to send, or do you want us to print that $1 worth of print material and mail it to you? So I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Good. And you can tell how many shares someone, you can tell, like in a posting, how many people shared it. So
Right.
You can tell that from the analytics?
Oh, yeah. You can see the analytics are. Do you mind if I bring yours up?
No.
Okay. So, and then we'll see this online, just in the room. So let me just show you, an example of. I'll have to get into a different account here. So you can see an awful lot about what's happening with these posts, how viral they are, how many times they've been shared.
So we did answer the question the other day for the first time because I was playing with YouTube. I pulled up a video that our performers for our Chamber Music Festival had created, and I put it on our channel, and then I posted it up. And I got the most views on Facebook of anything I'd ever put up before. So, obviously video does draw people in, as you were telling us in these meetings, but I just wondered where they came from, because, usually have like 30 people look at my postings on Facebook, and 234 looked at them instantly. And I was like,
So where did they come from?
Yeah, where
That's
did
a
they
super
come
important question.
yes, I really want to know that.
Where did they come
Where
from?
did they come from? So this would tell me that.
Well, actually, this is the magic of social networking, because the average person in the United States, I don't know the current stat, but it used to be 120. They have 120 connections. That's the average, right?
Right.
So you have how many people on your Facebook have they liked you?
On our work Facebook, about 156.
So what's the math? 156 times 120. That's a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
So that's your potential reach, right?
Mhm.
156 times 120. How many people does the 120 know? 120 each,
Yeah.
right? So by the time you go to a third level, you could be at really large. So that's why this Facebook change has been such an issue, is that they have really squashed that, right? So, but that's why having something like a video can become viral and that you have other people pick up on, that's why it blows up. It's not because you put it on your page. It's because somebody did you the favor of doing something with it once it got there. So let me show you this. This is Diane's. Let me cast this one.
Who doesn't know what she's doing?
She's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening online, you can't see this. Sorry, it's private. But we're talking about analytics that you can see in Lamppost. So you have all these quick reports here. So let me pull up a Facebook one. Facebook fan page report. And these are standard reports. And I'm going to pick the massive account. Okay. So this gives you an idea. What I want to show you is this chart right here. Okay. How many shares, how many likes, how many comments, how many unique clicks, right? A click is important. Why? Because they've gone from your Facebook to somewhere else you sent them, right? That's what we're after. Total reach, 263. Engaged users, 19. Talking about it, mentioning it, 3. So, and then negative, you also want to see that. But the virality is what you're looking for. How viral did this become? Okay. And so you will see, I will tell you that Diane's doing a good job. She's got good social content. She's very active, but you will see that these all are floating under 2%
Viral.
for viral, right?
You're not
And what
going
are you
viral
looking
there.
for? What are you looking for? Percentage there, and how is that calculated?
Right.
Well, it's simply, well, it's all about how many times it's being shared, right?
Right.
So, and there's no magic number because it's all about how many people can you reach. So the more viral this is, the more effective it is. So if you look at the ones that are the largest here, so here's one that she
So is that
posted.
based on your 120 times 120 times 120? So
It's based on these
think about
sharing.
everybody.
Yeah. It's these derivations of sharing, right? Now that's important, but also the click number is really important because now I moved them from a place where somebody else owns it. We don't own Facebook. We don't own our Facebook page. We think we do, but we don't. We don't own our contacts on Facebook. Facebook owns them. And so we want to move them to a digital property that we own. And that way we can move them to action. We can show them things we can't show them on Facebook. Facebook's frankly kind of clunky to look at. It's kind of funky to use, right? So it's got a lot of issues with it. But, we want to get them to a website. So you can look here that she has one that has 200 unique clicks, which is really good. And it's not a 1.98% viral. Right. So what if it had been 10% viral? How many clicks would she have had? A lot. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do here is create things that have this viral capability. So this is all found under the measure tab. And then when you're in the measure tab, you could pick these pre-developed reports right here.
Yeah, we can't see your clicker.
Oh, I'm
so it's
sorry.
hard to-
So
where you're
under
pointing.
up there where it says Facebook fan page, there are reports up there that you can pick from. There's standard reports. Okay. There's Twitter, there's Google Analytics, there's YouTube, Google Plus, Instagram, and then there's a dashboard which is kind of a general compilation of all of them. So you can pick those, and then if you don't like exactly how it's laid out, go over to the report builder, and you can build your own report. And there's 120 different modules in here. Okay. So you can. So, and I'll tell you, the only way to really do this is to play around with it because there's so many different things in here. So the stock reports are useful to start with. But this is telling you, are you achieving these action goals? because, reading something certainly is valuable,
Do
but
we-
it's not as valuable as somebody clicking on something. So,
Do we have this capability just by being on your site,
correct.
or do we have to have the Google Analytics?
Google Analytics is bringing your web stats into your LAMP post so you can look at them. It's just creating a report for you. It's gathering
So
them.
I have to sign up for that.
Google Analytics is a separate account that you have to own,
How
right?
do I do that?
Just go to Google and type in Google Analytics, sign up for an account. And then what has to happen is it gives you a code, a tracking code. That tracking code has to be inserted into your website. Otherwise, it will not work.
Into our own.
Right.
So if we haven't signed up for Google Analytics, we haven't so much of the capacity. But is there another way to know? Like, are there analytics built into WordPress that? No.
You Google Analytics. There are other analytics suites that cost money,
Right. Okay. But nothing.
which are probably not even as good as Google Analytics.
Right. So we can go on WordPress, our site, and click on anything or anything behind the scenes that would give us.
WordPress
Analytics.
Connect will allow you to connect to Google Analytics.
Right. It's
which I
a
just-
plugin.
She's saying, but I was without signing up for Google Analytics.
Right. You need the analytics account, and you're trading a little bit of information with Google, which I could probably get anyway, because they send these web crawlers out to crawl your web on a regular basis anyway. But it's a free account, and it has so much information in it, and then you can also get a Chrome extension, a Chrome extension on your Google browser, your Chrome browser, and it will actually show you. And you hover over different menu items on your website, it'll show you how many times people click, what percentage they use these buttons. I mean, so it's a valuable tool.
Do you recommend Google Chrome?
Well, I don't like Google Chrome.
Like it is.
I only use it because it shows there and it shows online there. And then as soon as we're done here, I'll turn it all off
Okay.
because it's frustrating.
So we can do this.
If you
without having-
use Mac, Google Analytics or Chrome is really difficult. If you're in the PC world, Google Chrome will probably work fine for you.
I don't like Chrome.
Anyway, it's up to
I don't
you.
like Chrome.
Personal preference, right?
Invasive, yeah.
Google Plus is that if we have Google Plus, do we have Google Analytics?
No.
And what is Google Plus?
So let's go through these slides, and that will have some benefit for those who are watching. So a couple of things have changed. So Instagram now is more than half 18 to 20-year-olds, and that's a big deal. I suspect that we're going to see Instagram really explode this year in a very big way. Here's the deal with Instagram. It's designed for your phone. And we can help you read it, but we cannot post to it. Nobody can except your phone. So, when you use Instagram, you need to treat it as a phone app. It's designed for phone pictures, for cool, fun phone pictures. That's what it's about. So don't think, but that's what people are using it for. And then LinkedIn is also at 50%. If people are college educated, 50% of them are on LinkedIn. So if college grads in this area, that's a huge percentage of the population in terms of donors, they're on LinkedIn. So we'll talk about some strategies about what to do about LinkedIn.
So if Instagram's per phone, then how does your organization have an Instagram account if your organization isn't necessarily associated with a phone, or is that a weird
You
question?
can get an Instagram account for your organization.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can't post to it without your phone,
Got it.
right? So
So
you
you
get
have to
multiple
use your
people
own.
in your team, a login, and everybody posts to it.
Got
And
it.
you just create some rules
Okay.
about how you're going to post to it, and what kind of things we're going to do and not do.
Great.
And but that's what it's designed for. So a couple other things. Twitter is continuing to grow. It's having a pretty good growth curve. Facebook is not growing anymore. Facebook is mostly growing out of the United States. So Facebook is flattened out, even with international growth, and Twitter is continuing to grow. So that's something you need to know as well. So here's the stat that's pictured here. 4 in 10 adults who use Twitter will check their Twitter every day, at least once, sometimes more. Many Twitter users check their Twitter. Are there any big Twitter users in the room? How many times do you check it a day?
Oh, a lot.
A lot.
I even get emails telling me if I get something.
Okay. So it's really substantial use. So by contrast, Google Plus, the engagement on Google Plus is 7 minutes a month. That's all.
So it's not necessary.
Well, we're talking about what you use it for. Okay. So here's a chart that shows what we'd recommend that you do with these different sites. And then we can talk about how they fit for you or don't fit for you. And so Facebook is still the predominant social network. It has a 72% market share, more among some users. It's clearly growing. As the boomers continue to age, Facebook's going to continue to grow among boomers. So it's aging. That's what's happening with Facebook. You still have to anchor everything in Facebook. You don't have a choice. You are going to find, as we look at people's accounts, we are finding almost uniformly that people are having a really hard time getting beyond 1 or 2% reach on
What do you
Facebook.
mean by anchor?
I mean that you put everything, you treat it as a place where things need to go. It's your digital bulletin board. Everything needs to go there because people will search, and there's big video search on Facebook. People will search for things there. It's really a secondary website in many ways with social features, but people are having a tough time getting beyond 1 or 2% reach with it. So it's not by itself enough, but you do have to put things up there. The frequency of posting does not have to be that huge. If you post once or twice a day on Facebook, you're good. Some people
too much.
once a day is not too much. Twice a day is not too much. 10 times a day is probably too much, So it's all about what your audience wants and appreciates. And that's why it's important to have some people giving you some personal feedback about their experience with your social. So it's not just all digital. So that's, Facebook has tons of value, but at this point, unless you have a strategy to get volunteers posting on your Facebook, let me say that different. Unless you have a strategy to get volunteers to post for you on their Facebook accounts personally, you're going to have a really tough time getting beyond 1 or 2% reach unless you pay. So the strategy is, we'll be talking about it on April 9th at the Main Street training about how to create these ambassadors, how to create social ambassadors. And this is a huge strategy. It's going to become really significant. My prediction is that nonprofits are going to kind of really create this new role of the social volunteer. And they will not be staff members, and there'll be many of them. And their job is not to show up and dish soup or counsel or anything. It's just to do social. So I think that's an important thing. And that's how you win at Facebook at this point. You put good things, valuable things on there, but then you have other people help you by talking about them. So comments or thoughts about Facebook. We're all pretty familiar with it. It's not a stranger to us, probably. So we talked before. Some of you came. The best way to do video is to put a picture with a link to a video. Now, Facebook is a little bit different related to video. Facebook prioritizes video that is uploaded natively from the actual Facebook page. They will prioritize the search. So if you have a video, if you shoot a video, Animoto or whatever kind of video, best practice is put it on YouTube and then physically upload it to Facebook. You will get more play out of it.
As opposed to a link to YouTube.
To anything, right?
How do you
It's like a picture. It's in the picture upload on
you
Facebook.
can upload a video?
Yep.
Like where you would essentially like have it saved as a file and then you want to upload the.
Right. So you would download it from Facebook or download it from Vimeo. It's a pain, right?
How people figure that out. I mean,
Right.
it's
So
very-
this is a new thing in Facebook, but Facebook is really taking a run at YouTube. I mean, right now they're winning. So they've given search priority to people that natively upload in Facebook. So, and then the other thing is that if you're using stuff that's personal, it's kind of it's more people oriented. It's not salesy. It's not the algorithm that they put in place at Facebook looks for anything that looks like an ad. So if you have the same stuff on your website that you put on your Facebook, it's guaranteed to get squashed by Facebook. But if it feels personal, Sharon is leading this great committee that's going to host the dinner on Thursday. You ought to come and try it. You can call her for tickets. That will get you way more traffic than putting up the same official post you have on your website about the dinner you're doing. So you have to personalize everything that you're doing on Facebook as much as you possibly can. Not to mention the fact that that gets you better reach. So Megan actually brought up an issue. One of our challenges with Lamppost is that one of the features that we have not been able to offer yet is you can't tag people on our system. We're working on it. Our techs are working on it, but Facebook is so complex that we just haven't got it yet. We'll get it nailed here fairly soon. So.
Isn't it generally good practice? Because I wasn't having a lot of activity on our Facebook page, I just started sharing other people's posts, and I was getting a lot of feedback from that. I grew, like, doubled our number from like 75 to 150, but still.
Right.
that was,
Right. So why are people on Facebook? What do they really want?
they want to be recognized.
They want attention.
Yeah.
They want someone to pay attention, to. So every time you pay attention to somebody else on Facebook,
And they
You-
pay attention.
well, that's the trade,
Yeah.
So share their stuff, comment on it, congratulate them. It's really about them.
Mhm.
And I think that's the rule in social, right?
Right.
But people are doing this because they want someone to pay attention to them.
Yeah, it had never occurred to me till one of these meetings, and then
Right.
I just commented on stuff, and then all of a sudden our things that we were putting up for our events were being shared out. Like, oh, look what they're doing, and I was like, what? I had no idea.
Right.
Okay.
And we're not spending a lot of time talking about that today, but this is not just another broadcast medium in which you just put things out. It's just not. It's a social engagement medium. So if you don't view that as probably about 60% of what you do, then you're really missing it on social. 30% sharing and 60% following, commenting, reading other people's stuff. And it's not just a publishing medium. So it's important. So Twitter. So anybody having great success with Twitter?
I don't understand Twitter. Like, I don't understand how it fits in my life.
Okay.
So help me with that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
so
Like, I
you,
feel like it's like in real life. I mean, like you said, it's growing and more people are using it, but I just can't. I mean, I was like this about Facebook like 5 years ago too.
Okay.
So.
And so a
I'm
lot of
like,
people feel
I'm
that
done,
exact
I'm
way.
supposed to get it.
right, but a lot of people feel that way. So Twitter. So between us in the room and those who are listening online, it's just a little bit narcissistic, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to narrate my life, right, moment by moment. That's what it is. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm buying bread. I'm filling up the air in my tires. I'm washing the car. I'm tired of cooking the soup. That's what it is. I know. So, so think of it this way. This is real time, real life sharing, right? So if you're doing an event, if you're meeting with somebody, so as an organization, every time you meet with somebody or an organization, you should tweet about it. Had a great meeting with. This is confidential, right? Okay. So the web has it has democratized a lot of things. It's created this forum, and you've seen what's happened in different parts of the world where Twitter has blown up these huge international events, and it's given people a way of sharing that they couldn't share. So, a lot of people want to be on Twitter and they want to share everything that's going on. But just like Facebook, it's all about who are you paying attention to? Are you paying attention to them? So part of the routine has to be that you are finding other people, you're following them on Twitter, and then you're commenting on what they're saying. That's what it has to be, right? And then we collect and search those things with these funny things called hashtags, and that allows us to pay attention to these things in bigger kind of macro level.
That's the piece I don't get, because
Right.
I've never had anybody show me how to use Twitter. I just did.
Right. So think of it this way.
I don't know what to do with that.
Just like every other social network, you need to be following other people who have similar interests. You need to be commenting on what they're saying. And that's part of the deal with Twitter. And then you need to be sharing things that you think your donors or supporters would find interesting or valuable, but they're very short, right? Now, the other deal is, what's the age group of your donors? How many of them are under 40? That's the primary focus for Twitter. So as you think about your demographic for donors, it may not be who you're after. It might be some of your clients are on Twitter. You know, I mean, as a charity, you know, you have to think about the future. So if you're involved in fine arts and music, is music part of that as well?
Oh, yeah.
The festival. So clearly, Twitter is something you have to negotiate with.
Right.
And so the other thing is, you know, a lot of people will tweet their events, and they'll have somebody whose job it is just to tweet the event. So what that allows me to do if I'm not there is I get 25 posts about what's going on at the event. I get some pictures. So it's virtual engagement I'm offering. So have somebody sit in the back of the room and just tweet the event. And most events now have a hashtag that goes with them. So I'd encourage you to think, you know, in terms of your development of projects, you should have a hashtag for each event, for each program, for each thing you're focusing on.
And you just make that up. Is that
Well, you can make it up or you can go search for it. So what you do is go into Twitter. You can go